Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made the show, and we've got some information and some interesting guests, and you'll definitely learn something, I'm sure of that. I've got Holly, my co-host from the past, and back for a few days, a few shows, I should say, and this is our second show, so welcome back, Holly. We appreciate having her here. And we have Mike down the end. Mike is a good friend of mine and been friends for years. Used to be a former Eugene, Oregon resident, now living in Seattle. So Mike has been following the goings-on of the cannabis law reform up in Seattle, and is also a core member on the Seattle Hempfest. So we can learn a lot about what's going on in Seattle. So Seattle Hempfest is 3 days this year.
Yeah,
everybody happy about that?
Well, yes. By all appearances, we're all ready to go. 19th, 20th, and 21st of August, always the third weekend. We had a bit of a struggle in years past to get a permit on time. And so we actually went to court for our right to have our event without interference and just to deal with it straightforward. So we got all our issues decided. The city is working with us. We've got our permit actually a week ago. And so it looks like Hempfest will happen for our 20th year.
All right. Yeah, I know that feeling. We're almost getting our permit. I'm on the process for our Emerald Empire Hempfest. I actually turned in the paperwork today. There's a couple of things on the paperwork I think they're not, I don't know if they're going to like or not, so I don't think we're quite done yet. But we're getting there. I got to meet with them Wednesday, so yeah, we're getting there. Our relationship has been really good over the years. This year it's a little strained because of some of the problems we had last year, but it'll all work out.
Those similar problems that we had. There's big construction projects going on around the park. Seattle has a view of the future for the waterfront, which involves, a lot of people have heard about the tunnel that's going to be built, may not be built, the raised freeway there that goes along the waterfront, that's a earthquake hazard. So there's a lot of things going on, and our park, which is right on the waterfront, has terrible access. So the problems we've had with the city in the past is that how do you get 100,000 people through one choke point?
Oh, wow.
You know, and so we work on that every year, struggle with the options that are really, unless we started bringing people in by boat or train, that's really the only way in the park. The big project that they're going to build is a footbridge that goes right into the middle near the main stage across the tracks over to Queen Anne. So that'll help. But like I said, they couldn't do the construction and Hempfest at the same time.
And was it 5 stages this year?
Yes.
5. The lay of the park makes it that possible because it's a skinny, long park, so they can have stages that don't interfere with each other. And I always liked 420, of course. I was 4 years ago, and I was sitting at our booth at 420, and I heard this roar off to my right, and I looked over and looked through the trees, and I saw this white bunch of joints flying through the air.
I don't know how that happens, but it seems to happen every year.
Why wasn't I there?
Yeah.
I think it's just that free speech, civil disobedience that Seattleites really like to exercise.
And we really need to exercise that right of our free speech.
Absolutely.
We don't want to lose that.
Yeah, and this is a pivotal moment. I'm not exactly sure what Oregon's been going through, but Washington has been going through a lot. Just about every dispensary in the state of Washington has gotten a cease and desist order from their city governments.
Wow.
The feds have been leaning on people, as I know they have here in Oregon.
Have the landlords of these dispensaries been getting letters? That's
yes.
Okay, that's what's happening in Oregon. Is the landlords of these dispensaries are getting letters?
Right. But the good thing is that Seattle is willing to stick up for medical patients, and so are other cities. We've been going to city council meetings and trying to present a real front to what this medical marijuana is about. A lot of people have just the wrong ideas of what this is, and if you show them people that benefit from this medicine and what you're limiting their access to by doing this.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, I have a friend that She has fibromyalgia, and she needs it. And she did have a medical card at one point, but she couldn't afford to get another one. And Dan has some information about that they're trying to raise the price of the cards and everything. Tell us about that, Dan.
Yeah, it's going to make it even worse. The Oregon legislature working on it, trying to get pass a budget. They're short everywhere for money, so we don't know exactly where it came from, who's behind it, but in this budget, lo and behold, they're doubling the fee from $100 to $200 for your OMA card. Also, if you want to be a grower, but you're not a card holder, but you want to be a grower, or before, you could do up to 4 patients, no charge. Well, now you got to have a permit to do that, and it costs $200.
Wow.
Now, it used to be if you were low income, instead of paying the $100 fee, you'd pay a $20 fee to the state. Well, now, what the new plan is, the SSI people, if you're on SSI, your fee remains at $20. If you're on Oregon Health Plan or food stamps, it used to be $20, but now you no longer have the discount. So instead of going to $100, it will go up to the new fee of $200. So low-income people, a lot of low-income people all of a sudden bumped from 20 to 200, and you know what?
Yeah, why kick somebody in a wheelchair while they're down, you know?
So there's a lot of uproar over this, and they're talking about some protests, possibly this Friday, the 17th, which I just thought of something. That could be a problem, because they have protests on Friday and the 17th, and they're having a candlelight vigil Friday night at 8 o'clock to commemorate Richard Nixon starting the drug war.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's SSCP's putting that on. They're going to do it in Portland, and we're here in Eugene. We're going to do it 8 to 9. In fact, it's a candlelight vigil to commemorate. Did I say celebrate? Commemorate.
Maybe the pot protesters should go to that and protest
definitely.
against Nixon doing what he did.
Yeah.
It seems most of the world is catching on to this drug war as not being worth the effort, not successful by any measure or means, and it just seems to be DC for the most part that is just holding on for dear life in a failed policy.
Yeah.
Even
well, it didn't work with alcohol. It's not going to work with marijuana.
True, but
and marijuana never killed anyone. You know, so.
No, but how many? It's disheartening at times, but
we're going to win.
I think people need to be as active as they dare to be.
Yes.
Call your representatives, call the White House, just let them know that you're not satisfied with it. This is unacceptable.
It's unacceptable.
The reasons that you want to do these things are just imagined and
made up.
Where do you guys get this
like
stuff?
Reefer Madness, you know? I mean, that's how it became illegal.
Reefer Madness in 2011.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You know, it's just in an information age that we live in, you would think that, I mean, sometimes I watch the media and then the internet, I look at the mainstream media and it's like they're trying to sell me something.
Right.
You know, I know none of this stuff is real. We're worried about a representative and his tweetering, and then we don't even look at issues where, 25,000 kids a day die because they don't have food and water.
Right, right.
You know, thousands of people die every day from bad meds.
Yeah, where's the love?
Don't talk about that.
You know, where's the love?
We don't talk about old Justice Thomas here, who has this failure to financial disclosure that his wife was working for, Liberty Media? And they're hooked, hand in hand with Citizens United, right? So here's a guy, Supreme Court Justice, breaking the law blatantly, but we're chasing around a representative who, sure, acted badly, but when in light, if you look at, Vetter, senator from Louisiana, who's been caught numerous times in bordellos in Louisiana and Washington, D.C., he still sits in the Senate. Yeah, I mean, so, hey, he's married.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a crazy, I don't know, it's frustrating, but I think people need just to stand up and say, this is the world we live in.
They do.
This is what we need to take care of ourselves in our community.
I like to say the drug war is about addiction, but it's not about drug addiction. It's about law enforcement's addiction to money.
Budget addiction. You know, they don't want to lose their
revenue.
budget.
Revenue. It's all about the revenue.
Well, those guys there's a lot that they could be doing. I mean, we could find work for the DEA elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's take a look at Wall Street.
You know, and I saw something on TV a long time ago where they were saying how many billions of dollars they spend on the drug war. And I thought, well, let's cut that. There's, you know, 3, 4, or 5, whatever it was, billion we could cut right there.
I remember a few years ago reading a report that the DEA confirmed that something unbelievable number, like 97% of their seized marijuana comes from ditchweed out of southern states.
Well, at least they're not getting our good stuff.
Yeah, right, I know.
Yeah, I mean, you keep the swag out.
That's helpful.
Yeah, you bet. So, as far as now Washington, you got the Legalization Initiative.
Yeah, and that's got just less than a month now to gather.
And so how are they doing on numbers, you know?
I don't think good. I don't think we're going to have enough. I wish I could say otherwise. I really do.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do.
But it's a tough thing to do when you're asking a group of people that are already marginalized financially to spend more time collecting signatures when the opportunities are really in Washington. It's like from the middle of May until the end of June, because the rest of the year everybody's inside.
Yeah.
And you can't go to a Seahawk game and do that.
Yeah. People need to lose their fear about this, you know. We need to stand up for our rights peacefully. You know, it's that simple.
Yeah, people need to come out of the closet that back us up. So
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's I always like to say as well, I got job security as an activist. Of course, there's no money in it, but I got job security.
No health care, but probably
but you're doing the right
work.
thing.
Yeah, it's like my friend Brother John. He says, you know what we need to work on? He says we need to set up a retirement home for old activists.
Yeah.
The trouble is, I think the one they have in mind for us is called jail.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to go to jail. We're going to prevail. We are so going to prevail.
Oh yeah.
But we just peaceably need to get up and stand up for your rights. It's that simple now. It'll work. It'll work.
Definitely. And you live right in Springfield.
Yep.
Springfield has its own bad dealings with pot. Springfield police, I'm speaking of. Our friend Paul McLean, did you hear about that? He walked into court to pay a traffic ticket. The bailiff searched his bag, found some marijuana, called the police. He showed him the card, called the police. He showed them the card. They said, well, you can't have it in here. So he left, and then he went to the library, hid it in the bathroom, and he was coming out of the library. He was intercepted by the cop number 3, and he said, I understand you have some marijuana. And he said, no, I don't. And he said, well, where is it? And he said, well, I gave it to a friend of mine to take home for me. And he said, well, let me see. Open up your pants. He made him open up his pants, look down inside of his pants. Then he proceeded to give him a ticket for possession. Even though he had never seen it.
Oh, that's so wrong.
He gave him a ticket for possession. So, well, that thing got thrown out of court, I mean, right away. I mean, it didn't even get to court. It was got killed. But he turned around and sued him, and they settled for $7,500.
Wow.
But that's only one case. There's another case that I heard about. Now, this kid, I don't think pressed it, but he came out of his house next to the police station with 3 ounces of Bud Shake, and the cop was right there, and he said, oh, I got a card. And he said, oh, that didn't matter. He says, we have a contract with the federal government to confiscate medical marijuana, and they kept it.
And I
That's
think
an interesting admission from
oh yeah. I think we have to go to a break now, Dan.
We do. We need to go to a break, so we're going to be right back. So stay tuned, and we'll be back.
I mean, herbs are good for everything.
Well, just like a bad debt, we're back. And so we've been talking about what's been going on up in Washington, and Mike was telling us about the legislature. So tell us on what's going to happen there.
Well, there was Senate Bill 5073, which was started really about a year ago in its infancy and worked through the summer and in through the winter through the legislative session. Had a good working bill, in and out of committee. Didn't really seem to be any problems on either side of the aisle. You get to basically the last day of the legislative session, and here's 28 amendments. And some of them were just kind of like literally out of thin air. It's like, you know, hey, they say, what are we smoking? We're looking at this going, what are you eating? I mean, they were just crazy. So the governor gets it. She doesn't know what to do with it. We're kind of at a stalemate. So comes back out, goes through committee again. Committee says, okay, this is what we think. Governor starts vetoing it. So it gets all watered down to basically, at the end of the day, our lawyers tell us that people in Washington are worse off when this is enacted than they were before. So we've spent all this time and effort and come out with something at the end of the day that actually offers less protection for patients. Washington Supreme Court just ruled last week that even though the state says you can use this, if you have to take a drug test and you don't pass that drug test, there's no provision in this law that allows you to keep your job or even fight for it.
That's awful.
Even if there was nothing about your job that says, well, he did a bad job and we needed to do this. No,
Right.
just random, whatever.
Taking your rights away.
Taking your rights away, your right to work, even though the state says that you can use this.
Right.
You know, I'm not talking about truck drivers or pilots or train
Right.
engineers or
Right.
ferry captains.
No.
I'm talking about somebody working at McDonald's
Yeah.
or some other
Where they can screw up
low-paying
your
job.
order.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Drug tested to wash dishes. Yeah. Yeah.
So now basically Washington, all you can be is a collective, a co-op, or grow your own. And all those are limited as well. You can't be a big co-op. You're limited to the number of patients you can have, and you're always, no matter how many patients you have, you're limited by the number of plants that you can grow. So at the same time, a lot of people, city councils, because we're going to city council meetings around the greater Seattle area and saying, most people are not smoking this stuff. If you look at people who are really sick and who need this medicine daily, they eat it. They use it
Yes.
in lotions, they use it in tinctures.
Oh, yeah.
And those that do smoke, vaporize.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so
And
these
cookies are
people have,
wonderful.
you know, tremendous benefits. A lot of people are unaware that a lot of folks that have been on psychiatric medications, you know, depression,
Oh, yeah.
ADA, bipolar, just all
Oh,
this
you
stuff they can
bet.
throw a pill at you. Turns out a lot of these pills are not meant to be taken long term.
No, they're
And
dangerous.
so people come up with
Yes.
just debilitating sickness, kidneys,
Oh, yeah.
livers.
Well, everything else shuts down. You take
Right.
one pill for one thing,
Right.
then you got to get another pill for something else, and then all of a sudden everything shuts down on you. Where you could eat a cookie, a marijuana cookie, and you feel great.
Well,
and it doesn't hurt you.
I think as people find this out, they tend to realize that, you know, maybe I need to rethink this. Maybe
Yes.
I need to get past the stigma and the dogma
Absolutely.
of my childhood.
Right.
You know,
or the
when you-
conditioning and programming
Absolutely.
that we've all been.
Whatever got to that
imposed
defensive
upon
mode
us.
where you just, all you see is just the downside,
Right.
the supposed downside.
Which is what the feds wanted.
Sure.
You
Well,
know,
and the gin lobby. I mean,
and all the evil.
who gives money to, you know, to try to thwart these things? And you can always find police, sure, but you're always going to see the gin lobby in there as well.
Yeah.
You know, matching them dollar for dollar because I don't want to lose
What is
sales.
the gin lobby?
Beer, Budweiser,
Oh, okay.
that kind of thing.
Alcohol.
Big corporations, alcohol.
Companies that want to sell you spirits, want to sell
Oh,
you booze,
okay.
want to sell you wine.
So they'd rather you have you drink than
Right.
smoke weed.
Because when you do go to drug rehab, and I have been 3 times, they do teach you all the evils of all the drugs that are out there.
Right.
Not in an even-handed way, but alcohol has never gotten a walk in any of the programs I've
No,
been in.
no.
And just the way it works in your body wants to get rid of it as quickly as it can.
Oh, yeah.
As we're cannabis, hey, it's got a place for cannabis to go.
We did a show once,
So.
Dan and I, where it was an article that I read that you actually have a THC receptor in your brain specifically for that. So, you know, God made us perfectly. You know, we kind of got downloaded imperfectly, but the point is that God, what was that saying? God made weed, man made alcohol. Who do you trust?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Good point.
I trust God.
Well, I mean, you're talking about a weed.
Yeah, oh yeah. You're talking about a beautiful sacred plant that can help people with cancer, fibromyalgia. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. In fact, we had a guy one time that had that little book, what was that, where it was from 19 or 18 something, and he opened it up.
Yeah.
Some kind of where it said that, you know, if you have this problem, take cannabis, you know.
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
that little book?
I can't remember now, but I remember the book. Was that
Yeah.
Denny? Was that Denny? Do you remember?
That was the guy that would get drunk and fall down in the parking lot.
Well, it's funny. I mean,
Yeah, it's not like Denny.
You look at a weed that too many people, I hear it say, well, it's the miracle plant, you know, and I just kind of roll my eyes when I hear that
No, it
sometimes.
kinda
but
is.
it really is,
It really is.
you know, and the reason that we don't use it, I mean, it's just lost on the fact that, you know, the status quo needs to remain this way. You know, these people are making money.
It was the evil.
Making money. It was
the
greed.
evil and greed. Well, all the nasty things.
Not
greed.
what works for, you know, best for society, but you know, what works best for their bottom line.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
We need to address that on a lot of levels, other than just the prohibition against cannabis.
Right. How about the Supreme Court of the United States and their ruling on? Now it's the police have more search powers. And if they say they smell something, that's a reasonable reason for search.
Well, you're destroying evidence.
Yeah, and you can't contest it, because how can you contest whether they smelled it or not?
Right. You're not in their nose. So
that's why, and I haven't done it lately, but I try tell everybody to use the baking bags, and we'll hopefully have an image here on the show to show you. But the Reynolds cooking bags. They're relatively inexpensive. You can buy them in the cooking section. You put your medicine inside them and twist it up, and you will not smell it. I'm not saying to feed dogs, but it will definitely not smell it. I've taken that into houses before and opened up the bag, and whoa! And you don't smell it till you open that bag up. It works. And so I've been stopped twice. Luckily, I have a card. No, they never asked to see the medicine. They just said, "I smell marijuana. Do you have a card?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I showed it to them, and they were very courteous and happy, and this way they went, just happy as a clam.
It's like we need to teach our cops how to behave.
Well, I can say one thing about the Seattle police. I've been doing Hempfest for about 10 years, the last 3 years on the board of directors, and they're a joy to work with. I know they've gotten a lot of bad press for other things, but as far as this particular item, Seattle decided in 2003 that it would be their lowest priority, and they have lived up to it.
Oh, that's good.
You know, and
progress.
Even when they come into our park, because we need them because of the crowds, and sometimes some of our attendees aren't very polite, but the police have always acted just above the fray. I mean, they've been very professional, and quite frankly like to work our event, because the crowd, for its size, is so much better than a Seahawk game, a Husky football game, or a Seattle Mariners game, because you don't have a bunch of, well, for one thing, two opposing teams. That lends itself to maybe disagreements. Throw a little bit of alcohol in there and a little bit of immaturity, and those guys have busy days. You know, they're arresting 50, 60 people per game just for being idiots. You know, for a Hempfest.
Yeah, I've been told that the Seattle police look forward to that event and sign up for it, because they want to do duty there. They know they'll eat well and have an easy day. Absolutely.
You know, and like I said, you know, they just have always been very generous and gracious to all our attendees, even the ones that are somewhat ill-mannered. And I have nothing but respect for them in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Well, like Kevin McPeak said, did I say this already about getting? He said we haven't always had a good relationship with the police, but we do now. That's been the exact same thing happened to us. Mm-hmm. We had a bad relationship in 2005. We have an excellent relationship now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's important, you know, because that's part of the getting rid of the demonization of people that use cannabis, especially for those who, like us, are a little bit longer in the tooth, but we know what's fact and what isn't.
Exactly. We've done our research.
We've done our research, and we've lived our lives.
We won't be lied to, and if we are lied to, we see it.
Well, it gets a little infuriating, you know, because I can't read, and some of the things that are thrown at me is just like,
how stupid do you think I am?
Yes, it's an assault to, to try to pull that over me. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up on the last show that Holly and I were here, we talked about Tucson, Arizona. This ex-Marine was killed by a SWAT team. It said no drugs were found in the home of a Tucson man shot and killed May 5th by a Pima County Sheriff's SWAT team. And he was shot,
this is wife and child were hiding.
The piece originally said that he fired at officers before they returned fire. They had to revise that statement when it was revealed that the safety on his gun had not been switched off. Now, now I found out after the show, I read something else on after I got home, and I found out he'd been shot 30 times.
Wow.
30 times.
Wow, that's insane.
Anyway, that's the end of our news, and Holly was going to tell us about making canna butter. So
yes, it's wonderful. You need to get either some swag, that's what I call it, leaf and stems from somebody, maybe a grower. If you're lucky, you can get some sugar leaf. With the sugar leaf, you need a lot less. With the swag, you need a lot more. But you take 3 pounds of butter, and you put it on low, and you want to watch it for a while. Always check on it, stir it a little bit. You melt the 3 pounds of butter. You add your weed to the butter. I guess you could use bud too, but that gets kind of expensive. And what you do is you keep it on low. You don't want it to boil radically. You want it to just kind of simmer real low, and you want to cook it for 8 hours. Then you want to turn it off, and you want it to go back together, you know, solidify again, and then cook it for another 8 hours. And then what you do is you get your strainer in a big bowl, and you start, you know, just pouring it in there. And then when you get to the bottom where all the weed is, you just squeeze all that weed, all the butter out of that weed, get it all out of the strainer, and then cover it, say, with tin foil and stick it in the fridge. And if you do 3 pounds, you can score it to where you have 6 long triangles, and each one of those will make 1 batch of Nestle Toll House goodness with a little extra something. So, it's an awesome idea. It helps so much with pain, any kind of thing, you know. It'll make you feel right as rain, as they say in the Matrix.
Right. And when you make it medible like that, we call them edibles for medical edibles, so they call them edibles. But a friend of mine that's not into the medical thing at all and strictly recreational, I said medibles. He said, what? He never heard the term. But anyway, the thing is that when you're eating it, be cautious, be careful. Wait at least 20 minutes before you try eating it some more.
Absolutely.
Because the common mistake is that about 15, 20 minutes they say, I don't feel that. I must need a little bit more. So they eat some more. Well, then after about 30 minutes from the first time they start eating it, they start feeling it, and then they're saying, oh yeah, that's what I needed. That's what I want to be. Well, that's where the first cookie kicked in. The second one has got to kick in
Well,
yet.
you have to understand
when the
how
second
much,
when the second one kicks
love
in,
and
then you overdosed, which is not a bad thing. It's just
no, you'll just go to sleep for 8, 10, 12, 14 hours.
So anyway,
but you'll feel great when you wake up.
So try a little bit, wait 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes, 30 is better, and then if you don't feel the effect or don't feel much, then try it a little bit more. So.
Okay, well, we have to wrap it up.
Yeah, so that's how to do it. And thanks so much for Mike to come down, and I appreciate that. And thanks for Holly coming back. And
absolutely. I need to talk to a woman that has a beautiful voice, and love is understanding. Get a hold of me. I have a lot of information from God for you. Anyway, that wraps that up.
Yeah, I definitely. Beautiful women, get a hold of us. Yeah. Okay, we're out of here. So this is Eugene Cannabis TV, and I'm sure to stop in next time. Thanks for being here. Later.